Let me ask you something that might hit a little too close to home. How many days have you wasted this month? Be honest. How many mornings have you woken up, grabbed your phone, scrolled aimlessly, told yourself I'll get to my goals later, and then watched the sun go down without taking a single meaningful step forward? We all say we want to change. We all dream of success, of happiness, of living a life that matters. But here's the painful truth most people never admit. No one is coming to save you. There's no perfect moment waiting around the corner. There's no magical boost of energy, no sudden burst of clarity, no hero showing up to push you into action. It's you. It's always been you. In this video, I'm going to share 9 powerful Stoic lessons that can help you stop wasting your life and finally focus on yourself. These are not fluffy motivational quotes. They are hard, ancient truths that cut through your excuses and force you to confront the uncomfortable parts of yourself. By the end, you'll understand why you've been stuck, what's been holding you back, and most importantly, how to break free and step into the life you're meant to live. Ready? Let's dive in. Let me tell you a story. It's about a man named Jose. Jose was like many of us, hardworking, smart, full of dreams. His biggest dream? To open his own coffee shop. Not just any coffee shop, but a cozy little space where people could feel at home, sip great coffee, and connect. He had talent. He had passion. He even had unique ideas for the menu. On paper, Jose had everything it takes to succeed. But in reality, every day was the same. He'd wake up late, rush through breakfast, check his phone, scroll through social media, and head off to a job he didn't even like. At work, he'd daydream about his coffee shop, imagining the smell of fresh espresso, the sound of happy customers, the feel of the place he wanted to build. But after work, he was tired, too tired, he told himself. I'll work on the plan tomorrow. He'd lie on the couch, watch a few shows, scroll some more, and then go to bed. Tomorrow became next week. Next week became next month. Sound familiar? One random afternoon, Jose bumped into an old friend, someone he hadn't seen in years. To his surprise, this friend, who had never been the smartest in school or the most driven, was now running his own successful business. A small shop full of happy customers, laughter, and energy. Exactly the kind of place Jose had always dreamed of. They sat down for coffee, and after a while, Jose couldn't help but ask, "How did you do it? I've been wanting to start my coffee shop for so long, but I'm always too busy, too tired, and honestly, I don't even know where to start." The friend smiled and said something simple but powerful. "It wasn't luck. It wasn't magic, it was time, and how I used it. I gave myself just 2 hours a day. No matter how tired I was, no matter how busy, 2 hours were non-negotiable. Over time, those small hours added up. That's how the shop came to life." For Jose, it was like a slap in the face, but the good kind. That night, he sat down with a notebook and wrote his first real plan. Not a perfect business plan, not a grand launch strategy, just a plan to reclaim his time. It was hard at first. Old habits pull at you like heavy chains. But each hour he spent learning about running a cafe, testing recipes, or outlining his ideas, something inside him shifted. His dream, which had once felt so far away, began to feel real. And more than that, Jose felt something he hadn't felt in years: alive. You see, when you focus on what truly moves you, you stop feeling like you're just passing time. You start living. So here's my first challenge for you. Ask yourself, how many Jose moments have you had lately? How often do you say, "I'll start tomorrow," while tomorrow keeps running away from you? The truth is, no one will hand you the life you want. No one will come knocking on your door saying, "Hey, here's your dream ready to go." You have to fight for it, but you don't need to fight with giant leaps. You just need to start small like Jose. 1 hour, 2 hours, 1 step, 1 action today. Remember, nothing changes until you change how you spend your time. Let this be your wake-up call. Let's dive into lesson 1. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. I want you to take a second and really think. How many times have you told yourself, I'll start when things settle down, or I just need to be more ready, or I need the perfect plan before I begin? It sounds harmless, right? But here's the truth. Perfection is a lie we tell ourselves to avoid action. The Stoics knew this over 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, wrote, "If you wait for an ideal, you will never act." That's because perfection is always just out of reach. You fix one thing and another problem pops up. You polish one idea and suddenly you see all its flaws. You wait for the perfect day and somehow the weather never feels quite right. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you're at a harbor and there's a boat ready for you. It's not a perfect boat. Maybe the sails are a bit worn, the ropes are a little frayed, and the paint is chipped. You tell yourself, I'll set sail once everything is perfect. So you keep adjusting the sails, retying the ropes, checking the sky for the perfect weather. Meanwhile, other boats with imperfect sails and imperfect crews are heading out to sea, exploring, learning, making mistakes, but moving forward. And you're still stuck at the dock. That's what perfectionism does. It keeps you in place, paralyzed. And the painful part, you think you're being productive because you're preparing or waiting for the right time. But you're really just delaying. Let me give you a modern-day example. Maybe you've been wanting to start working out, but you tell yourself, I need to get the right gym clothes first, or find the perfect program. Or you want to learn a language, but you think, I should wait until I have more free time or until I can afford a course. Or you want to start a business, but you say, I need more research, more money, more confidence. Here's the kicker. You will never feel perfectly ready. The Stoics teach us that action is the cure for hesitation. Every small step forward, no matter how messy or incomplete, is worth 10 times more than the perfect plan you never start. So here's your challenge. What's one thing you've been putting off because you feel you're not ready? Write it down. Then ask yourself, what is the smallest possible action I can take today to move forward? Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Maybe it's doing 5 push-ups, maybe it's downloading a free language app, maybe it's sending one email to a potential mentor. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, the goal is progress. Each imperfect step teaches you something new. Each mistake gives you data. Each small win builds your momentum. And here's the best part. As you take action, you become the kind of person who acts. You build identity, confidence, resilience, things you can't get by just sitting and planning. So lesson 1, stop waiting for perfect. Start today with what you have, where you are. Perfection is a trap. Progress is your way out. Welcome to lesson 2, protect your focus. Let me start by asking you a hard question. How often do you get to the end of your day and feel like, wait, what did I even do today? Be honest. We live in a world designed to steal your attention. Every ping, every notification, every social media scroll is like a little thief quietly sneaking into your mental space. And the Stoics would be shaking their heads at us. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, "People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to wasting time, they're most wasteful of the one thing in which it's right to be stingy." In simpler words, if someone tried to steal your wallet, you'd fight back. But when something steals your attention, you often just hand it over. Let me give you a clear picture. Imagine you're carrying a bucket of water. This bucket represents your energy for the day. Your goal is to carry this bucket to the end of a path and water the tree you're growing, your dreams, your goals, your projects. But along the way, you stop every few steps. You chat with random people, scroll your phone, say yes to small favors, watch just one more YouTube video, get caught up in meaningless tasks, and slowly, drip by drip, your bucket empties. By the time you reach the tree, you've got almost nothing left to pour. Sound familiar? The Stoics understood that your time and focus are your most valuable resources. Without focus, you cannot grow. Without focus, you cannot make progress. So how do you protect your attention in today's noisy world? Here's a real-world example. Let's say you're working on a personal project, maybe learning a new skill, building a side business, or improving your health. You sit down to work, but your phone buzzes. You check it. Then you remember you need to reply to an email. Then you scroll a bit on Instagram. Suddenly 30 minutes are gone and you haven't even started. Here's what you can do starting today. 1. Set clear boundaries. Put your phone in another room when you work. Turn off notifications. Block distracting websites during your focus time. 2. Decide what really matters each day. Write down your top 1 to 2 priorities, not 10, not 20, just the key actions that if you complete them will move you closer to your goals. Number 3. Protect your focus hours. If you're a morning person, guard that first hour of the day fiercely. If you're better at night, claim an evening slot just for yourself. Remember, your focus is your life's water. Every time you let distractions pull you away, you're spilling drops you can never get back. So here's your challenge for today. Choose one area in your life where you will protect your focus. Maybe it's 1 hour of deep work. Maybe it's no social media until after lunch. Maybe it's one evening fully dedicated to your personal goals. Start small, but be fierce. The world will keep trying to distract you. It's up to you to stand guard. All right, we're at lesson 3. Live in the present. Let me ask you something. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, I'll be happy when? I'll be happy when I get that promotion, or I'll be happy when I lose 10 pounds, or I'll enjoy life once I finally retire. Sound familiar? We all fall into this trap, believing that life will really start once we reach some magical milestone in the future. But here's what the Stoics teach us, and it's a tough pill to swallow. Life is happening now, not later. Seneca once said, "We are always complaining that our days are few, yet acting as though there will be no end to them." In other words, we waste today waiting for tomorrow. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine someone who works their whole life dreaming of retirement. They tell themselves, one day I'll travel. One day I'll relax and enjoy the little things. But when retirement finally comes, their body hurts, their energy is low, and many of those dreams no longer fit into their life. They waited too long. Now, let's bring this to today. To you. Maybe you tell yourself, I'll start focusing on my health after this busy season at work. Or, I'll work on my passion project after the kids grow up. Or I'll spend more time with the people I love when life settles down. But here's the thing. Life never really settles down. There's no perfect moment, no clean break when the noise stops and everything becomes clear. You only ever have this moment, right now. Let me share a simple, practical example. A friend of mine, Emma, always wanted to paint. She dreamed of setting up a little studio in her house, taking classes, maybe even selling her art someday. But she kept telling herself, I'll start when work slows down. Years passed. Her job stayed busy, her family responsibilities grew, and one day she realized, if I don't carve out time now, it'll never happen. So Emma decided to start small. She bought a tiny sketchbook and committed to drawing for 5 minutes each night before bed. Just 5 minutes. No pressure, no perfect setup, no waiting for someday. And you know what? Those 5 minutes turned into 10, then 20. Within months, she filled up sketchbooks, joined an art class, and finally started living the creative life she had been postponing for years. The Stoics remind us, the present moment is the only time you can act. You can't change the past, you can't control the future, but you can choose what you do with today. So here's your challenge. What is one small thing you've been waiting to start, hoping that someday will magically arrive? Write it down, then break it into the tiniest possible action you can take right now, today. Remember, waiting is a silent thief. It steals your days, your energy, and your life. Welcome to Lesson 4. Stop comparing yourself to others. Let's be real, how often do you look at someone else's life and think, why am I not there yet? Maybe it's a friend who seems to have, the perfect job, the perfect body, the perfect relationship. Or maybe it's strangers online showing off their luxury vacations, flawless skin, or fancy cars on Instagram. And you sit there thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I be like them? If that sounds familiar, trust me, you're not alone. Comparison is one of the biggest traps in modern life. But here's what the Stoics teach us. Comparison is poison. Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Translation, true success isn't about having what others have. It's about wanting what truly matters to you. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're a gardener. You have your own plot of land, your own flowers, your own soil to care for. But instead of tending to your garden, you spend all day peeking over the fence at your neighbor's yard. You obsess over why their roses are bigger, why their grass looks greener, why their trees seem taller. But here's the catch. While you're busy watching them, you're neglecting your own garden. Weeds start to grow, the soil dries up, the flowers you planted, they never bloom, not because you lacked potential, but because you weren't paying attention. Now let's bring this to real life. Let's say you've been working on a fitness goal, maybe running your first 5K. You're proud of your progress until you see someone online who's running marathons, lifting heavy weights, and looking like a model. Suddenly your excitement fades. You start thinking, what's the point? I'll never be like them. Or maybe you're building a small business, feeling excited about your first few customers, until you scroll through LinkedIn and see a friend landing a massive investor deal. Instantly, you feel small, like your work doesn't matter. Here's the truth the Stoics want you to remember. Your path is yours. Your success, your growth, your journey, they are not meant to look like anyone else's. And every minute you waste comparing yourself is a minute you're not watering your own garden. So what can you do? Here's a simple exercise. Every time you catch yourself comparing, pause and ask, what can I do right now to focus on my progress? Maybe it's doing one more workout, writing one more page, or making one more customer call. Shift the energy you're wasting on comparison back into action. Remember, someone else's success is not your failure, and their path, it's shaped by their unique experiences, talents, challenges, and opportunities, not yours. So lesson 4, stop comparing, start cultivating. Water your own garden, focus on your own growth, and trust that in time your life will bloom in its own beautiful, authentic way. Welcome to lesson 5, be like the ant. Small efforts every day create big change. Let me tell you a little secret. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day, but wildly underestimate what they can accomplish over a year. The Stoics understood something powerful. Great achievements are not built overnight. They are the result of consistent, patient effort, stacked day after day after day. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, do not act as if you had 10,000 years to throw away. Death stands at your elbow. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. In other words, you don't have forever, so start now and keep moving, even if it's just one small step at a time. Let me give you a simple but brilliant example. The ant. Have you ever watched ants work? They are tiny, but they carry loads far bigger than themselves. They don't sit around complaining that the task is too big or that they're too small. They just start, piece by piece, grain by grain. And here's the magic. Over time, their small, persistent actions create huge results. They move entire hills, build vast tunnels, and survive challenges that seem impossible for their size. Now, let's bring this back to you. Think about a big goal you have, something that feels overwhelming. Maybe it's writing a book, launching a side business, learning a new skill, or transforming your health. Most people freeze because they think, it's too much, I don't have the time or energy. But what if you approached it like an ant? What if, instead of trying to do it all at once, You committed to just small, daily efforts. Let me share a real-world example. My friend Alex wanted to learn a new language. At first, he felt overwhelmed. The grammar, the vocabulary, the pronunciation. He thought, I'll never be fluent. Why even try? But then he changed his approach. Instead of aiming for fluency overnight, Alex committed to 10 minutes a day. That's it. 10 minutes of listening, reading, or practicing. And here's what happened. After 1 month, he could introduce himself. After 6 months, he could hold simple conversations. After a year, he was watching movies in that language, something he once thought was impossible. All because he showed up like an ant. Small, steady, determined. Here's the key takeaway. It's not about doing everything today. It's about doing something today and then again tomorrow and the day after that. So here's your challenge. Identify one big goal that's been sitting on your heart. Now break it down. What is the smallest action you can take today to move forward? Not next week, not when you're ready, today. Remember, mountains aren't moved in one mighty push. They're moved one stone at a time, one effort at a time, one consistent choice at a time. Lesson 5. Be like the ant. Show up, stay consistent, and trust the power of small steps to create big, lasting change. Welcome to Lesson 6. Don't fear failure. Every fall is part of the climb. Let me ask you something personal. How many times have you stopped yourself from even trying something because you were afraid you'd fail? Be honest. Maybe you wanted to launch a project, but you thought, what if no one likes it? Or you wanted to apply for a new job, but you worried, what if I don't get it? Or maybe you wanted to step outside your comfort zone, but your mind whispered, what if you mess up and embarrass yourself? The Stoics have a powerful answer to this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, what stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, the obstacle is the path. You see, we often think success is about avoiding failure, but in truth, success is about moving through failure. It's about learning, adjusting, growing stronger each time you fall. Let me share a real-life example. I know a woman named Sarah who dreamed of opening a small bakery. She saved up, found a little space, and started baking. At first, things went okay, but then came the bad reviews. A batch of undercooked pastries, a few rude customers, financial stress. Sarah was crushed. For a moment, she wanted to give up. But then she reminded herself, this is part of the journey. She went back, listened to feedback, fixed her recipes, improved her systems, and slowly rebuilt her reputation. Today, her bakery is thriving. But here's the truth. If Sarah had let failure stop her, none of it would exist, and it's the same for you. Failure is not the end. Failure is information. It tells you what didn't work, so you can figure out what will. Think about a baby learning to walk. They fall constantly. They stumble, bump into things, land on their butts over and over, but never, ever does a baby think, well, I guess walking just isn't for me. No. They get up, they try again, and eventually they walk, and then run. So why as adults do we treat falling as a reason to quit? Here's what I want you to remember. Every time you fall, you're not starting over from zero. You're starting over with experience. You're stronger, you're wiser, you know more about what works and what doesn't. So here's your challenge today. Think of one area where you've been holding back out of fear of failure. Now ask yourself, what's truly the worst that could happen if I try and stumble? Most of the time, the worst case isn't even that bad. It's your mind exaggerating the danger. And remember, the Stoics believe that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite the fear. Lesson 6. Don't fear failure. Treat every fall as part of the climb. The obstacle is the way forward, not the end of the road. Let me know if you need any further assistance. Welcome to Lesson 7. Value your time, because it's the one thing you can't get back. Let me ask you something that might sting a little. If someone tried to steal your money, you'd probably fight back, right? If someone tried to take your phone, you'd defend it. But when it comes to your time, how often do you just give it away without thinking. You say yes to things you don't really want to do. You scroll through social media for hours without even realizing it. You let distractions, meaningless tasks, or other people's demands eat up the hours you could have used for something meaningful. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Why? Because sometimes valuing your time means saying no to things that look important on the surface, but don't actually move you closer to your goals. Let me give you an example. My friend David used to say yes to every meeting, every coffee catch-up, every tiny favor someone asked him for. He felt guilty saying no. He wanted to be helpful, to stay connected, to not let anyone down. But here's what happened. By the end of each day, David was exhausted. He barely had time left for his own projects, his own growth, his own dreams. He was spending his most precious resource, his time, on things that didn't truly matter to him. One day he made a change. He sat down and asked himself, if I only had 1 year left, how would I want to spend my time? Suddenly the answer was clear. He started saying no to meetings that didn't align with his goals. He cut back on mindless social media use. He prioritized deep work, meaningful conversations, and personal growth. And guess what? Not only did he become more productive, but he also became happier, because his time was finally aligned with what mattered most to him. So what does this mean for you? Here's a simple exercise. For one day, track where your time goes. Write down everything you do hour by hour. At the end of the day, ask yourself, which of these activities actually nourished me? Which ones moved me closer to the life I want? Then commit to eliminating or reducing just one time waster this week. It could be an hour of TV, mindless scrolling, unnecessary meetings, or saying yes to things you don't care about. Remember, time is the only thing you can't earn back. Money, energy, even relationships, you can rebuild. But time, once it's gone forever. Lesson 7. Value your time like the treasure it is. Guard it. Spend it wisely. Invest it in the things and people that truly matter. You only get one life. Make sure you're not spending it on things that don't reflect who you want to become. Welcome to Lesson 8. Redefine success. Make sure you're climbing the right mountain. Let me ask you something important. Have you ever worked really hard for something, only to reach the goal and realize it didn't make you happy? Maybe you chased a promotion, thinking it would finally give you a sense of achievement, but when you got it, you felt empty. Maybe you pushed yourself to fit into someone else's version of success, what your parents, your friends, or society told you should matter, and deep down it didn't align with who you are. The Stoics warn us about this exact trap. Seneca famously wrote, "If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." In other words, it doesn't matter how fast you're going if you're heading in the wrong direction. Let me share a story. I once knew a guy named Chris who spent years grinding away in corporate sales. On the outside, he looked successful. Great salary, fancy title, constant travel. But inside, he was miserable. He felt disconnected, anxious, and deeply unsatisfied. One day, Chris hit a breaking point. He sat down and asked himself, what do I actually want? What does success look like to me, not to everyone else? And you know what? His real dream was something entirely different. Opening a small community gym where he could help people get stronger, healthier, and more confident. Within a year, Chris left his corporate job, opened his gym, and found a level of joy and fulfillment he'd never experienced before. Because, for the first time, his life was aligned with his own definition of success. So here's your challenge. Take a moment and ask yourself, whose goals am I chasing right now? Are they truly mine, or are they borrowed from someone else? This isn't always easy to face. Sometimes we realize we've been climbing a mountain we never wanted to be on in the first place. But the good news is, you can change course. You can choose your own path, even if it means starting over. Here's a simple exercise. Write down what success looks like for you. without thinking about what anyone else expects? Is it freedom, impact, creativity, connection, peace? Once you have that clear, start adjusting your actions to align with your vision, not someone else's. Remember, the Stoics teach us that external achievements, money, fame, status, are indifferent. What truly matters is how we live according to our own values, how we cultivate inner character, and how we stay true to what fulfills us on the inside. Lesson 8. Redefine success on your own terms. Make sure you're climbing the right mountain, not someone else's. Because when you reach the top, you want to be standing on a peak that truly belongs to you. Welcome to Lesson 9, the final and perhaps most powerful one. Embrace solitude and find strength in walking your own path. Let me ask you something that might make you a little uncomfortable. How do you feel when you're alone? Not distracted by your phone, not surrounded by people, just you, sitting with your own thoughts. For many of us, that's a scary place to be. We fill our schedules with social activities, keep our headphones on at all times, and constantly check our notifications, all to avoid one thing: facing ourselves. But the Stoics believed that solitude isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." In other words, the most peaceful, powerful space you can access isn't outside, it's within. Let me share a real example. A friend of mine, Natalie, used to dread being alone. She always surrounded herself with noise, music, podcasts, social media, anything to avoid sitting quietly. But after a difficult breakup, Natalie found herself alone more often than she wanted. At first, it was painful. She felt restless, sad, even anxious. But little by little, she began to sit with herself. Journaling, going for solo walks, reflecting on her own thoughts without judgment. And something incredible happened. Natalie discovered who she was beneath all the distractions. She uncovered dreams she had buried, strengths she didn't realize she had, and clarity about what she wanted moving forward. Solitude didn't weaken her. Now, let's bring this to you. When was the last time you gave yourself the gift of quiet? When was the last time you disconnected, not just from the outside world, but from the endless pressure to please others, fit in, or be seen? Here's what I want you to remember. Your greatest insights, your deepest resilience, your most authentic self, they are only revealed when you have the courage to be alone sometimes. So here's your challenge. This week, carve out just 15 to 30 minutes of intentional solitude. No phone, no music, no distractions. Go for a walk. Sit in a quiet room, journal, meditate, whatever you choose. Just be with yourself. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding by always staying busy? What truths might I uncover if I slow down and listen? The Stoics believe that the person who is comfortable in their own company is truly free. Why? Because they're no longer dependent on outside approval, constant entertainment, or the noise of the crowd to feel whole. Lesson 9. Embrace solitude. Use your alone time to reconnect, reflect, and realign. Because at the end of the day, the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. Thank you for staying with me through all 9 lessons. You've done something powerful today. You've invested in you. Ready to wrap this up? Let's head into the conclusion and talk about how you can turn these lessons into real, lasting change. We've now reached the end of this journey together. And I just want to take a moment to thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for investing this time in yourself. Thank you for being curious enough, brave enough, and determined enough to reflect on what it really means to focus on yourself and stop wasting your life. We've covered 9 Stoic lessons today, from overcoming perfectionism, protecting your focus, and living in the present, to stopping comparison, embracing small steps, and redefining success on your own terms. And finally, we explored the power of solitude and the strength you can find by walking your own path. But here's the most important reminder I can leave you with. These lessons mean nothing if you don't apply them. The change you're looking for won't come from just watching this video or nodding along in agreement. It comes from taking real, intentional action. One step, one choice, one moment at a time. And the beautiful part, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to transform everything overnight. You just have to start. So, as you go back into your day, ask yourself, what is one small shift I can make today to align more with the life I truly want? Write it down, commit to it, and take that first step. Before we close, if you found value in this video, I'd be truly grateful if you'd give it a like. It helps more people discover these ideas. If you want to keep learning together, feel free to subscribe and join this growing community of people committed to growth, reflection, and meaningful living. And if you feel like sharing, I'd love to hear in the comments, which of these 9 lessons spoke to you the most? Which one are you going to apply this week? Remember, your life is too precious to waste. Thank you again for being here, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Until then, take care, stay focused, and keep moving forward.